tube, t-shirt on the tube. How's everybody doing? Hope your day has been wonderful. I just wanted to get on here and talk about the that new show that aired tonight, the True Life Crime. Now, the story that aired tonight is a story that's been talked about since it happened. It was a big thing on social media almost 2.5 years ago. And if you saw it, you know what I'm talking about. The Kenneka Jenkins story. So, if you live under a rock and have yet to hear about this story, Kenneka Jenkins was a 19-year-old young lady who was found dead in a freezer in Chicago and Rosemont, I think Illinois, at the Crown Plaza Hotel. And the details leading up to her death and that whole night in general is like very sketchy, very bizarre. And so many people say that they feel like her friends set her up to get killed, that she was raped, and her friends were in the room while she was getting raped and didn't help her. Like, it's just all kinds of things that are like very, very bizarre and spooky about this whole entire story. And from the moment I heard about the story, I've just like my thought process has always been and will remain that I feel like she was murdered. Whether it was an accidental murder on like a murder on purpose, I feel like she was murdered. Something is not right about everything, like all the details pertaining to her death. Like, first of all, ask her friends, because me, I'm a grown woman. Like I told y'all, just turned 32 last week. And me and my friends operate off of one band, one sound. If one of us is drunk, all of us is drunk, we're going to make sure we get home. We're going to make sure we have a designated driver or ride. And we move at the same time. If one of us got to go to the bathroom, all of our asses got to go to the bathroom. If it's one of us that's sober and the rest of us are drunk, the one that's sober is the one that makes sure all of us that are drunk get home. Like, that's just what it is. That's how I was taught growing up. My mom always taught me to like look out for other people, or whatever. So I know for a fact my friends would have never left me. I don't care how drunk I am. I don't care how out of it I am. My friends would have never left me in no hallway just to go look for a phone. And not to say that all the friends are guilty, because again, these are kids, but it's a different generation. Because when I was growing up, even when I was the age of 19, 18, 19, 20, 17 even, I never left my friends alone. My friends never left me alone. We traveled to point A together, we get back to point B together, and that's how it's always been for me. But this is a different generation. So, pretty much the guy who is doing the, I don't want to say documentary, I guess that's what you can call it, but he's pretty much trying to get the answers to the questions that we're all asking and wanting to know. And he said he's tried to reach out to Irene, and Irene is avoiding his calls, but he left a message for her. But Irene did do an interview with someone named Zach TV, who's been the one that's been covering the Kenneka Jenkins story. And in the interview, Irene says that the $200 that everybody is talking about, that was a setup, or like, used as as a means to like hire a hitman for Kenneka, the $200 had nothing to do with that. The $200 had something to do with a parking ticket in the hotel. I think if you lost your ticket or something like that, it was $200 to recover or something like that. So that's what the $200 went to. So he had asked her, was at any point any of you guys popping pills? Because how could she, it doesn't seem like she was just drunk, it seemed like she was drugged. And Irene said, yo, like, we all had our experiences with popping pills. We young, this is what we do. But however, Kenneka didn't care for pills. She did it once and she didn't like how it felt. So she didn't take no pills that night. She had a bottle, she had a cup, and then she had a bottle. So one of two things could happen. Somebody dropped a pill in her cup and she didn't notice it. Somebody dropped it in the bottle she was drinking. Who knows? That's why you never leave your cup unattended either. So, so, they pretty much went over the timeline that Kenneka went missing, and it was like, 1 o'clock, they got to the hotel, was partying, Irene went on live, everything was good, but people kept saying that they heard Kenneka in the background saying, help me. I watched the live a couple of times. I didn't hear Kenneka say help me, nor did I hear her say, girl, I'm not drunk. Like a lot of the things that people were saying that they heard and was seeing through Irene's glasses, I didn't really catch. And then it was so many like bizarre things happening when this story first broke, where people was like, yeah, we raped her and it was by accident, we didn't mean to kill her, blah blah blah, but nobody came forward and explain in full detail what they meant by that. So I'm thinking that was just something to like, I don't know, throw us off or whatever. And then it was another thing where people were like, yeah, her friends did set her up. Like, it was just so many stories surrounding this one story, like that whole weekend and stuff. And I will never forget that weekend when the story broke. I was actually at a slumber party with one of my friends for her birthday. So when that story broke, it was just like, what? And as they're like telling the details and all of, I'm like, how? Like, this is crazy. So like that whole weekend that all of this was going down, I'm just like, in my heart and in my body, I just did not feel right at all about like all of the details. It just was not adding up to me. So, she was at the party. She went missing like around 3 something. They spent an hour looking for her. When they couldn't find her, they called her mom. Her mom was asking them to look for her, and like around 6-7 o'clock in the morning, she called the police, and the police were pretty much like, well, there's not much we can do. She hasn't been missing for too long, just hang tight, wait, and we'll see what happens. And then like maybe 1 o'clock the next afternoon is when they started doing the missing persons report, because I think by then it was like, I think either 24 48 hours. That's 24 hours. So they did that, and then like police were coming in, security, everybody was scouring the whole hotel looking for her or whatever. And I think that the night of, I think September 10th or the morning of September 10th, she was found in the freezer by the manager, and they pronounced her dead at 12:48 and said that her death was like, her autopsy showed that she was super intoxicated. She had topiramate, which is something I've taken before for migraines, in her system. And she had, like, she was way above the alcoholic limit. Like, she was drunk. So it's like, if she didn't pop no pills or anything, how was topiramate found in her system? Because like I said, I've taken topiramate, and topiramate is it's a tiny pill. So somebody, my assumption, somebody put that pill in her drink. That's what it had to be. Because how was that found in her system, So, so the family pretty much was like listening to the messages, like, they was listening to the 911 call by the mom, and the cop, they're listening to, like, they're pretty much breaking down and deciphering what the cop is saying. And he pretty much just is prolonging the situation, like, just hang tight, if I do this, there's no guarantee that this is gonna happen. So they just feel like they didn't do enough. They didn't do enough in the short amount of time that they could have. Because maybe if they would have scoured the place when they were asked to, they would have found her sooner. She probably wouldn't have died. She probably, it's, who knows? So the family is like highly upset because they felt like this whole situation was prolonged. They didn't care. Nobody cared to look for her sooner than they were asked to, and all this other stuff. So the family is like, yo, like, they pretty much, they just didn't care. And in our opinion, they didn't care. So they were saying that the pretty much in Chicago, like the racial tension, of course, is very high because you have police brutality like you do everywhere, especially New York and Chicago are sister cities, like I always say. And just like there's police brutality out there, there's been police brutality out here too. Eric Garner, for instance, that's, Amadou Diallo, Sean Bell, all of these people who have died by the hands of police. One of my cousins. So it's like ridiculous. So it's like people don't feel protected. They don't feel protected but by the law. They feel like they're on their own. No one can save them. So it's pretty much a thing of, if Kenneka was a white girl, they would have been on it. But because she's a black girl, and black organs go on sale in the market and they sell for some money, it's an issue. So but that's, you can't rule that out either. So Donald Stevens was, I think, he spoke, and he said that he doesn't believe that it was a conspiracy. He does believe it was an accident because he believes it was an accident because it's like, like the footage and everything that the police did or whatever, they did what they could or whatever. So one of Kenneka's best friends, Bree, was one of the people who pretty much catapulted the search for Kenneka. Like, she was one of the people who were like on it to look for Kenneka. And she pretty much said that security was no help. She asked them to help her look for Kenneka, and they were just like, nope. They wouldn't let her look at the cameras. They wouldn't do anything. And they had asked her if she really believes that Kenneka locked herself in the freezer, and she's like, no. As drunk as she was, she couldn't have locked herself in that freezer. I think she was locked in the freezer, but I don't think she did it herself. So I was like, huh. And plus, if you look at that freezer, the freezer is heavy. That freezer is heavy, and drunk or not, it would be a struggle to open and close it. So she just feels like the people, they just at the hotel, they have no remorse. They didn't care about finding her. They believe that the footage, the family believes that the footage was edited, and they believe that she was really raped and strangled. Because if you look at the photos and you put them together with how Kenneka looked when she got to the hotel. When Kenneka got to the hotel, she had on a cute little outfit, little jacket, little brassiere thing, bustier going on, like little glitter bra looked like, and she had cut up jeans and sneakers on, and her hair was bone straight. When they found her body in the freezer, her clothes was dirty, of course, because she's in the freezer. Her shoe was off. She had a cut on her foot. One of her boobs was exposed, and her hair was a matted, wet mess, and she had a cut on her lip. So how? But they were saying there's no. And then I was told that her nails looked crazy, like she was scratching or whatever. So it's like, how? But they were saying in the report there's no physical signs. There's no physical evidence of injury. Her death was accidental and blah blah blah. But it's like, I don't know. I feel like, evidence could be tampered with. Footage could be tampered with. The forensic analyst pretty much, the host was asking, well, not really the host, but the journalist, he was asking about evidence being tampered with, and the forensic analyst says that the videos are true videos and can't be altered. It would take a lot of time and energy to do so, and if so, people would be able to tell that they were altered. So he pretty much took his word for it. the CSI investigator, who he wasn't on the case, but he's seen stuff like this happen all the time. He said that she was not attacked, but she fell asleep, and I think hypothermia, like when you going through hypothermia, I guess you shake, or I don't know, something, you shake, you kick, or whatever, to try and get out of it, and that's where the cut on her foot came from. But she wasn't attacked, she fell asleep. But he could see how people feel like police and authority are not truthful when it comes to stuff like this, because they're not protected. They don't feel protected by people. But he still believes that it was an accident and no conspiracy. So the family is like, nah, I don't buy it. I don't buy how she was how she just ended up in the freezer. And they were like, even the manager, he didn't even look startled or scared at the fact that he found a dead body. He walked in like he knew where he was going, and then walked back out. And they were saying that his clothes was kind of like disheveled, and it looked like it looked weird. And then somebody else was saying online that her pants were unbuttoned and whatnot when they found her. So it's like a lot of stuff. So the family isn't buying what the authorities are saying. They closed the case, but her mother still believes that Kenneka was murdered. And the mother, I think she filed like a wrongful death suit or something, like for $50 million against the hotel, but the case still remains closed. Now, these last two pieces I didn't even know of. So her uncle, who was one of the people who was speaking, he got murdered, like I think in March of the following year, in 2018. His murder remains a mystery. And Zach TV, who interviewed Irene and was on this show speaking too, was murdered in May 2018. And his murder is unresolved. So it's like, come on now. And we know how it usually goes in like these high profile cases, when something happens to like witnesses or people who are like in too deep or too close to finding the answer to something. They take out the witnesses. They're taken out. Something happens to them or whatever, they're murdered, and it's it's always a weird story behind it, to just, oh, they were murdered and this happened, just to like crazy. So again, case remains closed. So we're pretty much still left, like this true life crime show pretty much just still left us with the big question mark. Was it an accident? Was she murdered? Like I said, I feel like she was murdered. A lot of people feel like it was an accident. I feel like she was murdered. A lot of stuff doesn't add up. If you watch the footage of her in the hallway, it does look like it's edited. It does look like there's somebody else is there with her. But it was edited to look like they're not there. And then it's like, how come there's not a camera like by the freezer directly showing the freezer that she walked in on? And also, I remember watching videos later on about how people, they said that they didn't use that part of the hotel, but yet people were taking the elevator to that floor, maneuvering like it was a regular day. I saw that. And I also recently, like today or yesterday, watched a video where Irene was going off and pretty much pointing the finger at Monifa, like it was a setup. Monifa set it up, left her hanging, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's crazy. My goodness. But y'all let me know how y'all felt about it if you watched it, what your opinions are, how you feel about the case, because it's still a case that it's a touchy subject. It really is. And it just sucks that her life was lost, and she was young, she was beautiful, she was bright, she seemed like a sweet girl, and she just gained her wings. So y'all let me know how y'all feel about it. Please like, comment, subscribe. I know on this show, I think the rest of the season, the show is going to pretty much touch on like stories that have been in the news or whatever. Like I know one episode is gonna focus on Junior, who was murdered in the Bronx by the Trinitarios, the gang, or whatever. So I know they're gonna show that, but it's like other stories that they're gonna be covering. So I'm not sure if I'll do it weekly or if I'll pick and choose which one I want to do. I'm gonna fill it out first and see. But please like, comment, subscribe, tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend, and I thank you so much for watching. Later.